Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Nick Gray, the High-Tech Traveler, and today I am back with another smartphone camera comparison with the all-new Pixel 3 and going to be comparing that with the LG G7. Now, as I do with all of my smartphone camera comparisons, I'm recording everything in this video with these two smartphones, so make sure you keep an eye on the bottom left-hand corner to see which device is being used. With that out of the way, let's jump into the camera specifications of these two devices and see how they actually compare. I'm going to start things off here with the LG G7, and as you can see on the back of this phone, you get two camera sensors, both of them 16 megapixels, but the first has an f1.6 30mm lens with optical image stabilization, phase detect, and laser autofocus. And then that secondary sensor is paired with an f1.9 16mm lens, which gives you double the view nearly as what the first sensor gives you. And then on the front, if we flip over, and you can barely see that camera up there, it is an 8 megapixel camera with an f1.9 lens. On the back, you can record 1080p video at 60 frames per second and also 4K video at 60 frames per second, and if you bump it down to 720p, you can get up to 240 frames per second as well. As for the Pixel 3, you get a 12.2 megapixel sensor on the back of the phone with an f1.8 28mm lens with a dual LED flash, phase detect, autofocus, and optical image stabilization. It can't record 4K video at 60 frames per second, that's only limited to 30 frames per second, but if you bump it down to 1080p, you get all the way up to 120 frames per second. As for the Pixel 3's front-facing cameras, you actually get two sensors up front. The first one being an 8 megapixel sensor with an f1.8 28mm lens, which is pretty standard for most smartphones these days. But then that secondary sensor gives you an 8 megapixel f2.2 19mm ultra-wide lens. And to give you an idea of what that actually does, just zoom out on the screen here, and now you can see what we get with that secondary sensor. The nice thing is you can switch between those two sensors on the fly, even while recording, as I just did. It's a little bit harder when you're trying to zoom back in, since you have to pinch into the screen and it doesn't always work properly, but this gives you a really good idea of what this can be used for. You can fit in an extra friend or two on each side, and it's really good just for getting your surroundings in as well. So now that we have all the specifications of the cameras on these two smartphones out of the way, let's jump into some side-by-side photo comparisons to see what these two cameras can do and kind of judge which one is actually better. the Pixel 3 and the LG G7. Give you an idea here at sunset how they do with exposure with high contrast with the sun right behind the hills. And also give you an idea of what the audio quality is from each of these devices. Video recording with the front-facing cameras, as you can see here, they both do a really good job. I think I'm liking what I see more from the Pixel 3. And keep in mind that the Pixel 3 also has an ultra-wide angle lens that you can switch to, which you're going to see right now. And zooming out to that ultra-wide angle lens of the Pixel 3, you can now see I can fit a lot more in the scene. You can see the surroundings a little bit more. But also, if I was talking with a couple other people around me, you'd be able to fit at least another person or two on each side. While I love the ultra-wide front-facing camera of the Pixel 3, I also love the ultra-wide rear camera on the LG G7. And as you can see side by side with the Pixel 3, the main cameras, I'm using the wide-angle lens on the LG G7 right now, which gives you a much wider field of view, allowing you to capture much more of the scene, which makes it a lot more enjoyable when you're trying to capture your surroundings in the shot. Now that you've seen photos and videos from the front and rear facing cameras on the Pixel 3 and the LG G7, what's your take on these two cameras and how they actually compare? Personally, I prefer the front facing camera of the Pixel 3 and then the rear facing camera of the Pixel 3 as well. But when you throw in the LG G7's wide angle lens, it's pretty much a toss-up. I really enjoy getting that extra field of view when you have that main camera with the ultra wide lens, just as you do right now with this front-facing camera of the Pixel 3. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, I hope you give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.